Good evening and welcome to the Old Center Historic District Commission meeting. This is a continuation meeting from last week. Prior to starting the public meeting, I would like to read a statement. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions on the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the North Andover Old Center Historic District Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members or of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by watching your television on Comcast Channel 99 or Verizon Channel 28, or by visiting www.northandovercam.org. Okay, so can I have a motion to open the meeting?
I move to open the meeting.
Okay, I need a second.
I will second it. It's Leslie.
Thank you, Leslie. The meeting is now open. The thing that we have on the agenda this evening is a continuation for the application from the Trustees of Preservation at the Stevens Coolidge House. Prior to us going into that continuation, I do need to read a statement pertaining to the hearing. That statement is pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This public hearing of the North Andover Old Center Historic District Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can listen to this meeting while in progress by viewing on Comcast Channel 99 or Verizon Channel 28, or by visiting www.northandovercam.org. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by emailing your questions or comments prior to or during the meeting to hazanoian@northandoverma.gov. Again, that was hazanoian@northandoverma.gov. Okay, so welcome to the meeting, and the hearing is now open. And during our last meeting, we had reviewed documentation by the applicant pertaining to adding a railing for the purposes of access along the front of the building. And there was a request made by several of the commission members to have some additional documentation provided, and Elizabeth provided those documents. They are in the share file for people that are accessing the share file. We had one request for some photographs at different angles, and we also had a request to see if we could see what the railing would look like if it had some additional vertical structures added to it. So with that being said, I'm going to open it back up to, or Elizabeth, I don't know if you would like to walk us through the attached figures and renderings that you have provided.
Yeah, I would be happy to do that, Harry. First, I just want to thank all the commission members for attending this meeting on such short notice and so close to the holiday. I appreciate everyone's time. So after our conversation last week, I went out to site and took a look at different existing site elements that could be to inspire sort of a rethinking of the design of the handrail. And what I found a couple of things. First, as we talked about last week, there are a couple of ornate iron gates that are existing and historic to the property, to the original property. And those are located at the Rose Garden and then also in the Serpentine Wall, for those of you who are familiar with the property. Replicating those didn't feel quite right, as those were all entrances to specific legacy garden rooms. The other site element that I thought we could look at is there are a couple of locations where they have trellises that were also historic replications, both on the building itself and in the perennial garden. And again, I wasn't sure if that was quite the right inspiration to take in designing the handrail. So the two renderings that I put together, one of course is the original, just simple black rail design. And then the second, I took the image that was sent last meeting, so that the sort of more decorative white rail with, I guess, interspersed with more rails, and then did a rendering of that as well. And so this is the view, this is the southwest facade of the house. And this will be where the rail, in whatever iteration it takes, is the most visible. And you can see in the way that I've rendered it, I've rendered on top of the trees, the new dogwoods that have gone in. So either selection, the rail is actually going to be even less visible than it is in this rendering. But I thought it was just helpful to visualize what it could look like on site. So my hope is that this makes the case for the black rail as something that competes less with the authentic historic quality of the architecture, as opposed to being something that's just a more visible site element that could compete with more authentic aspects of the architecture. So I also included in the latest email just an image of the front of the house. So you can see that where that rail would be located is hiding behind the that existing stone wall, which is 5 or 6 feet or so. So in whatever selection is made, again, that rail is not visible from Andover Street. I wanted to make sure that that was also clear to everybody. And I would very much appreciate everyone's feedback.
So before I open it up, can I just have one one sort of clarifying question, if I could, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
So so when I look at the railing itself, and I know it's challenging, to take existing photos and sort of superimpose a rendering on top of it. So taking out the tree piece of it, the color is extremely pronounced. It's very, very black, right? Am I correct in assuming that the in real life that black railing would be, I don't want to say more matte, but it would be toned down probably, right? Because
Absolutely, yeah.
you're using a solid black, right?
Mhm.
And that's not really what that surface reflection will look like, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I would think you would use a flat black, correct, Elizabeth?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, and that flat black would then tend to blend in even more, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to say. Okay, so I'm going to open it up to the commission members for discussion. We have in front of us, the two renderings and people's comments and questions to the two drawings. Who'd like to go
Elizabeth,
first?
I have a question. This is Leslie Frazier. In looking at your southwest side view of the house with the new walkway that's going up to the patio. That looks like a ramp in itself that comes up level with the patio. Is that true, or is it just the way the picture is showing?
So
You-
that, I see what you're saying.
Okay,
The path that goes straight up to the house,
right.
it's just, it's at grade. So there's no, I guess there's no non-natural surface there that would create any kind of ramp. Now, that unfortunately could not be an ADA access point because the slope of that grade is over 5%.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that was a question that needed to be asked, I think, from these pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
So this is Kim. I have a question on the white rendering. Is that meant to be metal?
I think, it could be metal, it could be an AZEK material. It was a little hard to tell from the image that was sent. I think that maybe was metal, but it could be AZEK.
Well, so I actually preferred that, and I still prefer it to the black. I think that the black looks like a handicap ramp railing, and I think the white does not. The white to me looks like a walkway railing. And it also looked like it was in similar style, although not exact style, of the front picture, which has some sort of white gate between the shrubbery. So I guess I saw them as similar architectural and not competing. And I think that the black still looks like a handicap railing, especially from this angle. And I'm wondering what is to the left of the house there? Is that another pathway that comes up to that side? Isn't that what the door is?
That's left of,
The southwest view.
yes, that's left of the pathway that runs up straight to the house.
Correct, the left side of the brick.
Yeah.
Oh, the left side of the brick. So there's a patio that extends around that corner of the house. And you can see, so there's an addition to the house. That's that white building.
Right, I've seen that. I've seen that.
Mhm.
So my understanding from the last meeting was that you said that people come up the ramp and they go across the porch to the back part of that section to go into that door. Is that correct?
Yes, so there's that brick patio that runs under the overhang and then turns around the side of the building. And so you can actually see a little bit in the background, there's a door there that has a circular reef on it. That is most likely going to be the door that would become the ADA entrance.
Yeah, so to me, I'm surprised you wouldn't actually put, if people are going to be going in there, I'm surprised you wouldn't actually put some sort of walkway railing there, not necessarily ADA compliant, but aesthetically, and it would actually give balance.
Are you saying?
Yeah, I guess my opinion hasn't changed. My opinion is that I prefer, especially with this rendering, I think the white looks much more like an element of the house, and the black to me stands out very much like a handicap ramp element. And I also think that the white rendering matches close enough the front view where you have a white gate between the shrubbery.
Mm-hmm. Ryan? Thank you, Kim. Ryan?
Yes, Elizabeth, first off, thank you very much for putting this together. These rendering, it really helps. I know it takes more of your time to do this, but much appreciated. And I was the one that was the person that asked you to do this, so I really appreciate it again even more. You know, I after our meeting, I kind of did a little bit more research and started looking around at some things. And I do have to agree with you to try and get it to blend in. But at the same time, I would like to see it as a nicer feature than just the simple black railing, just because I think that look, although we all say it's going to blend in, the reality is it's not when you're there. So, I just think that look, the black railing, the way how it's so simple, it's like something like it's like an afterthought of that house, where you just kind of threw it up. So, in looking at this rendering, I think a nice option would be if you kept it white like this rendering, however, you got rid of the skinny vertical balusters and just kept the 4 posts with a white handrail. I think that would be a nice balance of it still goes with the house. You don't have the crazy visual that you have right now with all those vertical balusters. And I think it just kind of goes more with those square columns that are on the side of the house there. And I think it's a nicer, more stately look than just a simple round black railing.
I agree with Ryan. I think that that would be a nice alternative and kind of meet things in the middle. It would have the simplicity of the black, but would be more in keeping with the house, with the white and just having the vertical, more emphasis on the verticals, like as the emphasis is on the columns.
Ryan, are you suggesting, this is Kim, are you suggesting that even though the little balusters, most of them come out, you'd keep the anchoring ones, the ones on the end and like 2 in the middle?
Correct. Yeah, just get rid of the skinny vertical ones. Yeah, I don't think the skinny vertical ones add anything to that. There's no structural component there. I think that's purely decorative. So.
But you're saying keeping more than just 1 on each end. You'd have 2 and 2. Yeah. So I agree with that as well, and I agree personally that the white does look more architecturally like an element than the black. So I agree with your adjustment suggestion.
So Ryan, are you asking? So in your rendering, Ryan, could they just encapsulate the current metal verticals with a square white post?
Yeah, that black rendering. Yeah, the square vertical supporting columns, whatever you want to call them. I don't know what to call them, but yeah, if you just make those white and square versus, I think the one that is there now is round.
Yeah.
It just makes. I think it just goes with those nice side columns of the house. It's just miniature versions of those,
This is Kathy, and I had a question for all of you. I'm a bit confused. What would be the top rail that goes across the whole thing? I mean, you're saying you want white columns on the 4 columns that are there now.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the top? I mean, it has to be smooth, because if someone's using it as a handrail, I mean, what's going to be there?
I think what's being proposed, Kathy, is that you leave the current black structure, you just paint it white.
Right.
And then you add verticals. You're basically encapsulating the 4 vertical posts that are on the black version.
Okay,
I see it. I mean, I see it, but I don't. My concern with the thought is that I don't know that in itself. So I agree with everything that's said in terms of matching the architectural element and extended architectural element. I don't think it disappears anymore. I think sometimes, by adding more architectural elements, you may be introducing elements that would start to compete with the overall structure. So if you look at, for example, if you look at the coming into the four columns, the major columns on the patio, on the roof, your eye is going to go now to the right. And I don't know if it goes to the right, if you don't make an architectural element, it's just something else that's there. It's not white. And my eye goes to sort of the front facade, the entrance to the front. If you put it there, then in essence, you're going to add an architectural element that is not going to be balanced, like Kim said, because there's nothing on the left side.
Which
Harry,
could be
this is
put
Harry.
there.
This is Roger. I agree with you 100%. I'm all for the original basic design in a flat black.
And Roger, can you elaborate? Because I know last meeting you yourself have said, being at Phillips Academy and being involved in a lot of these types of projects, right?
Yes.
You've seen what happens, right?
Yes.
As a result of certain projects and adding railings and so forth. What can you share more of that experience with us? If you could?
Absolutely. Whenever we have to add any sort of ADA equipment on the outside of the building, it is always basic, flat, black, because it does disappear. We don't add any elements. We don't, none of that ever gets painted, the trim on the building or brick colored to match. Black is always the standard color to make it fade away. And this simple railing does that. Yeah.
Can you give an example? Can you give an example of a historic property that you're talking about?
At Phillips?
Well, I think historic property is different than a municipal building where nobody.
Well, Phillips is
very historic.
It's all many of the buildings are 1790. I mean.
So Harry, I looked around. Actually, the North Parish Church has the black railing in the front.
Okay.
And it, it's against the black background, so you see it. But I can see where Roger's coming from. And I mean, obviously, I default to both you and him in that experience, and I don't have as much experience with this as regards to you guys, especially Roger being on Phillips. So if he says it's going to blend away when it's black, then I will go with that.
Elizabeth, what you've worked on several properties yourself. What has your experience been now that you see the what we're looking at and considering? What are your thoughts? I mean, I am curious.
I think generally when you're adding a non-historic element to a historic house, and we consider this to be a historic house museum, you don't want to create an inauthentic replication of something that never existed. So you don't want to create something that looks like it was supposed to be replicating something that had been there at some point. This is something I learned when I was working. I did a lot of work at restoration of the Old Manse landscape in Concord, where there is very strict regulations about how things can be done there. And so generally you just want any sort of new site element, like any handicap parking spaces or handicap rails or things like that, to really disappear as much as possible, and not to compete with what is authentically historic. And so because of that, my preference is for the black rail. I think it helps your eye to focus on what is authentically historic. And actually, this walkway is really not going to be used very much. In fact, the whole idea with the grading of the actual walkway itself was that from this view, you couldn't see the walkway. And really, it's just supposed to look like this one walk that's right up to the house. And the walk that crosses, that is the actual ADA walk, disappears as much as possible.
So how do you reconcile that you're building new structures on the property then that are completely different than what was ever there?
That's totally legitimate. We're not, this is actually something I talked about in the email that I sent to Harry, is we're not replicating the historic landscape here. We're not restoring it to its period of historic significance. But in all of the work that we're doing, we're trying to not create any competition with the historic house itself. And so, in fact, all the new gardens that we're creating, and we're restoring all of the actual historic gardens, and any of the new garden rooms are highlighting the historic site elements. So this garden that we're looking at here is based entirely on creating a new view of the historic house. So I totally hear what you're saying, and I think it creates muddy waters when you say like what's historically authentic versus not, and what's restoration versus not. But our goal is to not compete with the authentically historic architecture of the house.
But aren't you creating a brand new, what is it, a garden archway or pergola, or it's a whole enclosure or a walkthrough that you're creating? That's all new.
A new pergola.
It wasn't a pergola. Sorry, I saw you post it on one of your social medias. It's a wooden structure.
Oh, we have a new garden gateway building.
Yeah.
And that was
it.
reusing a shed that was built by one of our volunteers in the 70s. So that is actually on a different part of the property. And so that's not even in the same location as what we call the historic core of the property, where the historic house itself is located.
Hi, this is Mike.
Yep.
Elizabeth?
I want to
Kath?
say that from my perspective, I've listened to all of this, and I was leaning toward the white fencing looking modification, but now I'm totally convinced that it should be the flat black, and as it was originally proposed. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm in agreement with Mike. My gut from the beginning has been the black. I was swayed for a moment, but Elizabeth has reminded me of why I really like the black. And I remember working with Peter Hornbeck long ago, where he said that even a black chain link fence will just disappear into the landscape. And it basically does, especially when the trees are there. It goes in with the trunks and the branches, and it's the least obtrusive that you can have.
And your eye does go to white rather than to black. So I think that it will disappear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kathy?
Yeah, it's been an interesting discussion. I went back and forth in my own mind a couple of times too. But as I'm looking at the picture, I did realize that my eye does go to the white fencing there, and I would have to agree that a black mat on that railing would probably disappear.
Okay. So did I miss anyone?
Harry, this is Lori. I just want to kind of
Laurie. Thank
That's
you, Laurie.
okay. Really nothing new to say. I agree with everything that Elizabeth was saying, that it would blend in better. It's kind of what I was thinking at the beginning. The white, I mean, it's visually pleasing, but when taken into consideration that, it's a historic property, our goal is really to not add anything to it visually, to try to just keep it the same. The black is the way to go.
Okay, thank you.
This is Kathy Sisker. I just want to say the pictures were extremely helpful. They let us see the black and the white, and I do think we needed this meeting, and to thank Catherine. I mean, the pictures were extremely helpful.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
Yep.
Okay, is there any more discussion? I'm going to take that to mean no. So I'm going to need a motion. We've already, in our last meeting, made a motion and approved the uplighting. And I will write both of these up in the certificate of appropriateness, however we vote. I need a motion for the railing. And when we put a motion together here, we need to reference the particular document that we're viewing. So if we're saying Southwest View _blackrail.jpg, then that's the supportive document that will get attached to the certificate of appropriateness, along with I believe the other documentation for that's been provided, the ramps 24.0 through 24.5, and add those as well. So can I get a motion? And before we do a motion, as I previously had stated in my opening of the hearing, that the public was free to comment or send any emails that they chose to ask or comments or questions. I have not received any questions. I have not received any comments, so that we're free to go ahead and put forward a motion.
Harry, it's Ryan. I'll make the motion for you.
Thank you, Ryan.
So I move that we approve the ADA handrail for 137 Andover Street, the Stephen Coolidge Estate. In referencing that motion, include a couple of files here. The first one, ADA handrail and path lights. The next one would be the ramps 24.0 through 24.4. Actually 24.5, sorry, for reference.
Yep.
And then the two renderings, one, the rendering of proposed ADA handrail, and the second one being the Southwest View black rail rendering.
Yep. I'm writing this down because I have to put it into the certificate.
Let me know if I went too fast and you need me to repeat some of that.
No, I got it. My hand's not writing as fast as my head. All right, I got it. I need a second on that motion.
This is Roger. I'll second that.
Thank you, Roger. Okay.
Harry, do we need to specify that it should be the flat black?
We can.
Yes, yeah.
I will add that. ADA flat black. Okay. So Ryan's made a motion for us to approve the ADA handrail flat black for Andover Street, referencing the ADA document with the lights. Which one was that? Application.
So it was ADA handrail and pathway lights.
Yes, got it. For 24.0 to 24.5, the rendering of the proposed ADA handrail and the Southwest View _black rail. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Great. All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to that?
I don't prefer the black, but I'm in the minority, so I just want to register my vote as I don't agree with the black.
So that would be a no.
Right.
Yes, it would.
Which is fine. I mean, we don't always have to agree.
Right.
So that's fine. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses and 1 no.
Right.
So-
I didn't know if the goal was that you were trying to sway people to one opinion or not, but I feel like I don't want to have to change my opinion if I mean, you guys have the majority and that's fine.
Correct. That's correct.
Oh, yeah, Kim, you should never worry about that. Always vote what you feel is correct.
Correct.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
You bet.
All right. So the motion is passed. And is there any other discussion that we need to have, or are we done on this application?
I just wanted to thank Elizabeth as well for going through the extra work of providing the pictures. I do think it added some clarity and definitely gave us some comparison to base our opinion on. So thank you, Elizabeth.
Of course, of course. Thank you all for all of your time on this.
Okay. So just Elizabeth, for your purposes, I probably will be issuing a certificate of appropriateness probably Monday or Tuesday at the latest.
Okay.
And you will get an official copy of the certificate that'll come out of Bernadette. And she will attach all of the supportive documentation that supported both of these motions. So both of those will be included in the certificate of appropriateness. It'll also be filed with the town clerk as well as the building department.
Okay.
So that I don't know if you have an outstanding building permit and you're just adding to it, or how you're operating, because it's a big project. But in any event, it will be on file with the town, both with the building department and with the town clerk. And you'll receive also a copy as well, but the official copies will be the town clerk and the building department.
Okay.
And the other commission members will also receive, as you know, a copy of the certificate as well. I want to thank everybody. We're going to need a motion to close the meeting, to end the meeting. And I wish everybody a safe and happy New Year. If someone gives me a motion, we can end the meeting.
So moved, Harry.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. So that's it with the meeting. That meeting is ended. And just as a reminder, Ryan, you said yes, and Kim, you said yes to January 20th's meeting?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. That's a real important meeting. So I will encourage everyone. Again, we probably won't be voting at that meeting because there won't be ample details for us to vote. This is for the purpose of that meeting is going to be more for an initial conversation to see whether or not the applicant, in fact, gets a sense from our discussion that which way we would lean and whether or not they should make an investment to subdivide their property and pursue, placing another property on there, new construction.
Harry, this is Kathy Sisker. I just had one quick question.
Yes.
In the emails to all of us, you used the word subdivision. I thought this was just one house.
Well, he's subdividing that property. It currently is not subdivided.
Well, right. I was thinking of subdivision as 2 or 3 houses.
Yeah.
I thought this.
No.
It's just a one house.
He's subdividing. He hasn't subdivided the property yet.
Right.
Right now, it is still one parcel of land. But
right.
Before he goes through that process, he wants to get a sense of whether or not what kinds of obstacles he may or may not encounter going forward with his plans.
Okay.
Is he going to have a proposal? Like, is he going to be upfront and tell us what he's proposing, whether he's subdividing just to one other house, or is he going to try and keep that sort of close to the vest so we don't know what his intention is?
No, he has in his application, and it's already currently in the share file you can look at. He sketched out because, I have not gone into great detail. We haven't had the meeting yet, but apparently there's a very small, limited area that potentially could be buildable. The rest of it is, going to be challenged by conservation, or may already have been challenged. So a lot of wetlands in the property. So he's trying to say, this would be my envelope. This is what, I want to do, and this would be the size and so forth, and what his vision of what he wants to do with the property. So what we have to decide is, how appropriate it would be to add another new construction into the district, and what its impact might be or may not be. And if we feel we could do that, then under what parameters we would want to do that.
Harry, when we're looking at the house, number 117, I think that's what it is.
Yes,
We're talking to the right of that.
correct.
Behind that stone wall, I assume.
Yes.
That's
Correct.
the only place I could see.
Yep, that's
Okay.
correct.
I just want to make sure I'm in the right place.
Correct.
Harry, it's Ryan. I found that file online. Is there any chance you could add something with a reference to either property on either side, just to show where this is in relation to the other two properties?
Are you just
Exactly.
asking for what the plot lights look like? The
Yeah,
plot?
I mean, he has one here with a proposed building, but kind of tough to see where it is related to the. Oh, actually, never mind. There's some other lot lines.
Well, he has some of the lot line, I think, on the right, of that
Yes,
property.
not on the left.
But we
yeah.
could, I don't know if Bernadette is still on the line. She was on the line. But we could ask Bernadette to add that to the share folder if you want.
Yeah, it's possible. I walked by there the other day, and I just had a really tough time trying to picture where this was. So that would just help a little bit if possible.
I'm writing a note, Ryan, to ask Bernadette if she.
Hi,
she
Harry. I'm still on the line.
Hi, Bernadette.
I'll try to
Always
see if
there,
you haven't
Bernadette.
been
You're
on the
always
thing.
there. Yeah. So is that possible, Bernadette, to maybe just give us the two adjacent properties to the left and right in relationship, so that we have that?
Do you want something just like from the assessor's map?
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Sure, I can do that.
That would be perfect. And then at
Yep.
least we have something
Thank
to
you.
talk to when we're having the meeting.
Sure, I can do that.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, that would be
Sure, no
very
problem.
helpful.
So the
Thank you.
goal for next week's meeting, Harry, is just to let him propose and discuss where our inclinations are, and not to vote on that?
Correct. I don't think we have enough to vote. I mean,
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, it's just a very general proposal, and he's just trying to get a sense of saying, and it's on January 20th, not next week, but his sense is he wants to say, is it even a possibility, or will we not feel confident in wanting to put a house there, and saying, quite frankly, it's just another new house into the district that's already diluted. So that's the conversation, and we have to say, okay, we would consider something, and if we did, it would be how big, one story, what style, that sort of thing. And at least he can then plan accordingly, because it's quite an investment to go through all the commissions, going through conservation, zoning. It's a lot of effort. And so he doesn't want to get to the end of the process only to say, that the Historic Commission, Old Center Historic Commission is not in favor of a new construction on that piece.
So we have to give him an indication of where we're leaning, though.
Well, I think he'll get that through discussion.
Harry, this is
For
Mike.
sure.
Do
Yeah.
we actually have the right to say that he can't build on a buildable lot?
In the district, yes.
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 Harry, Ryan again. It might be good for the next meeting too, if you have a background on the two lots to the right, on what the history of those was when they built them.
Hmm.
Which ones? You mean on the corner there? Those two?
Yeah, the two to the right that you and my dad dealt with years ago, where they started building, they weren't allowed to or whatever.
So yeah, what would you like to see?
Well, I just I'm curious, like what the process was there. Like, were you able to pick out? Well, obviously you were able to pick out like the architectural features and such, but I guess.
Okay, I can walk through some of that. Kathy was
Yeah.
on the commission. Leslie
Yeah.
was on the commission at that time. Marty was on the commission at that time. Roger, were you on the commission at that time? I don't know.
No,
Mike?
no.
No?
No, I don't think
No, I
Roger
was
was.
not. I was
No.
not.
Was
Yeah.
Michael?
I was not on the commission, but I witnessed the initiation of the downing of the trees, and that's when the alarms went off, and
Yep.
we found out that the building department had issued the permit before the historic commission had viewed it.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, and just for everybody's, I did say in the email, and I'll also reiterate it here, because of the significance of this. I mean, there are not a lot of properties on homes in the district, and when you look at the total number, and I don't have it right in front of me, but I will for the meeting, the number of what I would consider to be non-historic homes, homes built in the 20th century, let's say, in the 1940s and up, the proportion is not that great in terms of historic properties. And because of that and the significance of this, I had asked Bernadette, and I think it went out today or tomorrow. Normally, we just inform the abutters to whatever application we have happening. But because of the significance of this, I have asked that the entire district gets a butters mailing indicating that this meeting will take place. Because I think everyone should be aware of the impact and the conversation.
That's a great idea, Harry.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, because I don't want people to be blindsided. I don't want people to, say, well, I wasn't aware of that. Or, I don't know how many people read the Lawrence Tribune's legal notices anymore. And, we do have people that are very diligent to go on the town website and see up and coming meetings and so forth. That I will say. But I just want to make sure people are aware.
Great
So
idea.
I'll ask people to be prepared. I mean, this is, one thing you may want to do as well is take a review of the 40C regs. They have been updated. I mean, our bylaws are a byproduct of 40C. And go to the Mass General Laws. You'll see in there. I mean, for the most part, 85% of our bylaws are sort of the exact wording to what's in there, but they will talk about it, and I think particularly look at the types of things of what's congruent, what's not congruent. What will it do to the entirety of the district? You have to think about things like separation. We have the Parsons Barnett house, right? We have the Osgood house, which is on the other side. We have my house. We have, so, the more you put between antique homes, you're now becoming more disruptive in the congruency of it, and so.
Harry, oh,
Yes.
sorry. This is Lori. I was actually going to suggest that as well, for people to go back and read through 40C. It might be even helpful just to email around a link for that.
I can mail people a link.
Great. And then also I, started doing some looking, and I did see that the architect of the original house on that property is a Royal Barry Wills, which is a famous architect in the state. And I think Historic New England has a file on that as well. I can share.
That would be
just
good to share.
Yeah, to put in perspective.
Yep. And I don't know, honestly, maybe Kathy Siska can help us with that granite wall, right?
Yep.
And what its significance is, because it continues on the other side of the property, but it also goes all the way to Mass Ave, right? I mean, we still see those small granite, headers
Yeah.
that go, that are in front of those two new homes. I don't know what the significance or when that was built or what it is, or, but maybe you can help us a little bit with those sorts of things as well.
Sure. I do know that there was a fantastic house built where that beautiful ranch that they want to subdivide now, and it was torn down, and it was called Crosby, Crosby, I believe, or BIE. It was and it was well known throughout, our area and all that. It might have something to do with that house, but I can check that out for you.
Okay, and if you find anything that you could share with us via email, that would be great too.
Sure.
Or if there's information that should be put into the share file, Laurie, by you as well, or please just send Bernadette an email and copy me, or send it to me and copy Bernadette. Either way.
Alrighty.
And then we'll try to add it so that when we have the conversation, we can reference various materials as well. So
sure. Yep.
That sounds good.
All right.
Harry,
Well, I want to wish everybody. Yes.
One quick thing, that wall extended, that wall extended in the same way it is now, all the way to the corner. But when those two houses went in, it was said that the wall had deteriorated so much that they were going to tear it down, that they had to tear it down. This is the only part that's really left that's intact and is in pretty good shape. I would hate to lose that. It doesn't make a lot of sense anymore.
It's on the other side too, in front of that Victorian barn that he has.
Yes, that was the whole.
It's there as well a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. And that's where the Crosby residence used to be, right there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make a lot of sense just to have this one section, but I would still hate to lose it.
Yep. All right. Well, some food for thought for the next meeting. We have our work cut out for us. Again, I wish everybody a happy and safe holiday and New Year. And we'll be meeting again on January 20th.
Thanks, Harry.
Alrighty. Thanks, Harry. Yep. Happy New Year to all.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Harry. Happy New Year, everyone.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.